I've got to say, those of you who are left are definitely the best looking lot. I mean, the ones who left, fuck them. So, hello. Hiya. I'm Dave. Who are you? It's okay, one at a time. Hasn't it been amazing today? The speakers, I've just been blown away. And what I'm going to be talking about today is you know, I might mention casually that I wrote a book, which will be available for sale when we get back to the bar if you want. But you know, when is Chris still here? You know, when he was talking about luck, he basically did the intro to what I'm wanting to talk about today. Because I'm going to talk about experiments, because I do lots of experiments. And what he was saying about luck is basically the reason why I do lots of experiments. You know, because some of my experiments don't work. You know, but that's all right. Some of them, I always learn something, even if they're failures. So he was saying that luck, people who consider themselves to be lucky, you know, they're good at spotting opportunities. That's one of the reasons I do experiments, is to spot opportunities. That they're fearless. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks about the experiments that I do. It's fine, I'm just going to do them anyway. That they validate that when you're feeling lucky, you know, you've got an intuition and you want to validate it. See you. We won't miss you. Don't worry. Don't worry. Have a safe journey back home. So you know, you get an intuition, and you're going to validate that intuition, and you're going to turn failures into successes, and you're going to have fun. And that's really what I do. So I want to actually tell you about some of the experiments that I do. And one of the reasons that I do them is because I'm curious. And curiosity is the very foundation. You wouldn't have creativity without curiosity, because curiosity is just when you start asking questions. And you know, the thing is that adults have learned not to be curious. It gets hammered out of us. So when Ken Robinson talks about how schools kill creativity, one of the reasons behind that is that schools hammer out curiosity from kids. And instead of teaching kids how to learn, they teach them what to learn. Rather than asking questions, they give them the answer. This is how you do it. If you come up with the answer for a maths problem and you get it right, but your workings are wrong, you're marked wrong, that's fucked up. So I'm all about curiosity. So let me just get into these experiments. So first experiment I want to talk to you about today was one I did a couple of years ago, the Cack-handed drawing experiment. So I'm right-handed, and I've got a friend in Belgrade called Rhea, and he's left-handed. And we were chatting, saying, oh, let's do something together. Let's do an experiment. And I said to him, can you draw, as somebody who's left-handed, can you draw with your right hand? He said, no, don't be stupid. I said, can you draw with your left hand? I said, no, don't be stupid. I'm right-handed. I said, could we teach ourselves to draw with the other hand? So we set ourselves this challenge, that every single day we would draw, I'll show you, this is day 13. Every single day, there's a little bit of music in this, you might be able to turn it up just a little bit. But every single day, we would draw a self-portrait with the wrong hand. Now, this, as you can see, it starts off, it's very wobbly lines, and this would take me about an hour to do a self-portrait. And it starts off very scratchy, and then I start to, and then I've got to get my beard right, the hair's pointing in the right direction, you know. Get all the details going. And I did 31 of these, and I'm going to take you through them, because they started off shit. Nearly done with this. A little bit shading. There you go. So this was day one. Thank you. So this was day one, and it looks. Why are you laughing? This is day one, and it looks as if I'm just off. Another experiment was to see how many pies I could eat in a month. I've really let myself go. And so I had clearly no control over what I was doing with my left hand day one. So let's go to day two. Oh, day two, a massive improvement. What happened there? Day three, hold on. I would be really happy if I did that with my right hand. And Rhea, again, he's taken a big leap. So 3 days into this, we'd gone from going, I cannot draw with the other hand, to going, oh, yes, actually I can. Things went downhill day four. We start to go through there. You can see that they develop. At this point here, we both started experimenting with shading. And the shading's a little bit rough. But, we're giving it a go. I got really lazy on day 12 and just thought, yeah, I'm just going to go for a head of skin here. And, that was the one you've just seen. You can see they sort of carry on from there. I'm experimenting more with shading. If you look at the parallel lines of shading, they're now much more parallel. It's working better. I was thirsty. Come on. As we move through, one of the things we did, once we started to get to day 21, we said, well, let's pick an emoji. And every single day we'll do a different emoji, because at this point, we'd realized that we could actually draw with the wrong hand. And we're experimenting with techniques. And we just wanted to sort of see if we could line up at this point. So I don't know what happened to my teeth there. That was a bad day. But at this point here, the next one here, Rhea started to use pencil shading. And it just elevated what he was doing, because he was experimenting at this point. And his pencil shading, I think, was just amazing. So a couple of days later, I thought, I'll copy that. I'll do some pencil shading as well. But it wasn't quite as good as Rhea's. Day 29, and then something, I was living in New York while I was doing this, and Ray was in Belgrade, and we seemed to discover that he seemed to think that this month, which was July, only had 29 days. So he only did 29 of them. He thought it was a February leap year. It's easy to get a mistake, easy mistake to make. Whereas I was an American, it was definitely 31 days. But, I mean, look at this. Going from day one to the final day. Look at Rhea's. Look at that. Isn't that extraordinary? So the whole thing about doing experiments is that it's about learning. And the one thing that both of us very much learned about this is that you can't say that I can't do something without adding the word yet at the end of it. I can't do that yet. We are capable of so much more. And both of us were completely blown away about how quickly we progressed. So, maybe I'll be trying to draw with my left foot next or something like that. But always up for more experiments. So experiment 2, I want to talk about an experiment that I did a few years ago with the drum. We called it the Newt Judge experiment. It was all about alcohol, being pissed as a newt, being sober as a judge. And this little film here will explain it better.
Here's how it works. We have 18 advertising creatives. We split them into 2 teams. One team is allowed to drink as much alcohol as they want. The other team has to remain sober. They each have 3 hours to work on the same brief. Then we take their work and we get it judged by top advertising creative directors. Then for a second opinion, we put their work to the public to see what they think. And just for the sake of irony, the problem we're trying to solve tonight is binge drinking.
Touch your nose. With both hands at the same time, touch your nose without falling over.
So, do you think that the group who were allowed to drink as much alcohol as they wanted throughout the night, do you think they were better than the group who remained sober throughout the night? What do you think? Fuck yes. So we picked the 5 top ideas from each of the teams and drew them up so they looked as if they came from the same person. They were me. And when we got them judged, both the public and creative directors judged in the same way. The alcohol team got 4 out of 5 of the top ideas. not only about the quality of the ideas, they produced more ideas throughout the night, and they produced ideas more consistently throughout the night. We couldn't believe it. And since then, I don't know whether it's because of the experiment we did, but our experiment has been cited in magazine articles and papers and all sorts of stuff. But they've actually done some academic studies into this now and discovered that, yes, alcohol does actually make you more creative. And the way that it does it is, we believe that round about 1 pint in, it lowers your inhibitions. You know, the little voice in your shoulder saying, "Oh, you can't say that. Oh, the people, no, don't say that." And it basically says, shut up. That's what alcohol does. I think this is the part of your brain that gets drunk first and it stops talking. And then you start to release those ideas that you normally would be too inhibited to talk about. And then you hit 3 pints, and at that point, you're just an idiot. But what we're really interested about is actually the fact that alcohol can be useful in this way. And it all came about from a creative director that I was friends with, that we used to talk about how, you know, things seemed to be so much better in the 90s when we were, you know, you'd go out to the pub at lunch and you might come back. You know, that was what advertising used to be like. And, oh, was the alcohol, did it help us in any way? Was it part of the job? And so we wanted to test it, and we did. Next I'm looking for somebody who's got some heroin. We're going to do it again. So experiment number 3. This is one that I've not actually released a study. I've not actually released this yet, but I want to tell you about it. I wanted to see if people are more creative when they're relaxed than when they're stressed. So I went up to an agency up in the countryside. This agency, as you'll be able to see, it's even got a greenhouse here. And so we were doing a study, and what we did was split people into 2 teams. So I had the relaxed lot, and we sat outside, and it was a beautiful day, and I gave them the multiple uses test, which is a classic way of measuring creativity. So what you do is you give people a paper, and it's got an object on it, and it's got like a brick or a paper clip or something like that. And it's how many uses for this can you come up with in 2 minutes? And you've just to write them down. And you measure it in different ways. So you measure the amount of suggestions they come up with. So you give them a point for every suggestion they come up with. You also look at how many domains they cover. So if they're just talking, everything's to do with the kitchen, that's 1 domain. So they get 1 point for that. But if everything's a different domain, so that's the kitchen, that's the garden, that's sort of weapons to mutilate and hurt people. You know, you've got these different domains, then you get a point for each of these domains, and then how elaborate the answer is. So if you say it's a use for a brick and you say it as a paperweight, you get 1 point for that. But if you say it's a paperweight to hold down some papers in an accountant's office when it's a hot day and somebody's opened the window and it's windy, then you've put in all these details for that. Instead of 1 point, you would get 6 points because you've elaborated, and each thing that you put into your elaboration, you get an extra point. So that's kind of how you measure it. So we discovered that this group here that were enjoying themselves and relaxing, this group here were in a really crappy room that was hot and stuffy. There was somebody through the wall, had a drill. There was people outside who were mowing the grass outside, and the person who was telling them what to do was shouting at them. Saying, "Come on, hurry up, sit down, stop that. No, don't, this is serious, there's the papers there. Has everyone got a pencil? Have you got a pencil? Have you got..." No, so she was really making it stressful. And we found it made a huge difference. But the results that we got back were really quite impressively different. So that relaxation, not being stressed, it's one of the areas I was most interested in was how many domains. Because what happens when we get stressed at work, we go into like a fight or flight state. And we're designed for the prairies. We're not designed for working in offices. So when we're stressed, it's just like there's wolves coming. What do? We don't go, "Hey guys, let's actually think about this. Let's brainstorm. What can we do? Well, we could dig a hole in the ground, and if it's deep enough, the wolves won't get us. Oh, that's good. Well, what about if we'll climb a tree? Yeah, but there's no trees here. Yeah, but we could grow one. We could import one. No, you're going to run like fuck, aren't you? You're not going to have a brainstorm. You're going to be like, we're going to go for where it's safe." And that's what happens in the office. When we are stressed in the office, we narrow our thinking down and we go for the obvious. And this is one of the biggest problems I have when I'm working with companies to try and help them get to better ideas, is if you have a level of stress and politics in the office, it narrows down people's thinking and it narrows down their ability to judge. So people go for the safe, they go for the easy. But that is bad for innovation. That is bad for differentiating yourself. That is bad for getting a competitive advantage. So let me look at experiment 4 that I'm doing as well. I'm in the middle of this one at the moment, and this is the cut-up lyric experiment. And, you know, doing a cut-up technique is something that William Burroughs used to do, and all sorts of people sort of back in that sort of taking too much heroin and writing things period. They would do it, and David Bowie did it, and it
When
all
we were
came
in
from...
Los Angeles in '74, whatever it was, you were still using that technique of cut-ups. Do you still use it, or do you do...
Yeah. Increasingly so, to a great extent on Outside. Even say on the new album, Earthling, if you put 3 or 4 disassociated ideas together and created awkward relationships with them, the unconscious intelligence that comes from those pairings is really quite startling sometimes, quite provocative.
So I decided that I would try this, and I'm just coming to the end of this experiment just now. So I wrote 3 pieces of completely unrelated prose, and I mean, these really aren't worth reading. So the first one's about commuting, the second one's about having a broken heart, the third one is about clouds, I think it is, and I just wrote a whole bunch of crap for each of those, and then cut them into strips, and then into little chunks of 4 or 5 words. And then once I'd done that, I start moving them around to see if I can get interesting clashes. And that's how far I've got at the moment with this experiment. I've got some stuff that is quite interesting, crap, but interesting. And I'm just about to turn that into lyrics. So I'll be bringing out a video soon of this, because this is what I'm doing now, is I'm subjecting myself to experiments. I'm experimenting on myself, and I'm putting this stuff out there. So there's one of the things, a study that I read a while ago was that boredom is really good for creativity. So if you get yourself tediously bored, then, you know, after that, you're actually better at coming up with ideas. So I'm about to do that as well. I'm about to spend 2 hours copying out phone numbers from a phone book before actually, or maybe I'll watch an episode of The Big Bang Theory or something like that. Jeez, that's so shit. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll conduct an experiment. I'll see what kind of results I get. But I was wondering, can I do an experiment just now? Are you guys up for it? Now, I only actually need some of you. I need you people up the middle. Are you all right? Are you up for this? In fact, I don't know enough of you. Could people move to the seats on the edge there? And I need people to have a smartphone. And I need the people who are there to promise me 2 things. One, that they'll take a picture when I ask them to take a picture. The second thing is that I want you to email it to me. So I'll give you an email address, and you need to email it to me afterwards. Because I decided to conduct an experiment doing the sort of a bullet time thing. I don't know if you've seen this. At the School of Communication Arts a couple of weeks ago, where I just got the front row to just all take a picture of me at the same time. Now, what I'm wanting here is to do that up and down the aisle. I want to go up one side and down the other. So it's going to be like zooming out and zooming back in again. So I'm going to stand here. This is the rules. So this is the room. This is you guys in the middle. I want you to get your phone right now, put it to camera settings. Don't hold it upright. We're going to go for grown-up pictures, yeah? No happy slapping here. So make sure that your flash is switched off. Then I don't want you to zoom, no zooming. No changing the exposure settings. Put me in the middle of the frame, slap bang in the middle of the frame. And then when I tell you to go for it, you're all going to take a picture at the same time. Now, if you have somebody else's phone screen in your screen, that's fine. That's all good, because that's what we're going for. Right, you've all got your phones ready. So I guess I just need to say 3 after 1, 2, 1. You all done? Good. Now take a picture of that, because that's where you're about to email it to. You're going to email that to me. Then I'm going to edit it together into another little experiment to see how it looks when we do the zoom in, zoom out again. So I'm trying to do these little sort of film experiments as well. And you'll be able to see some of this stuff on my YouTube channel, which that's the address of it right there. It's just my name, afteryoutube.com. Nice and easy. But that's it. I've now reached the end. I've actually got, I'm over by 43 seconds. Okay, I love you. Goodbye. Thank you.